So going on now to, normally you would discover your BACnet controllers now. Again, because of the nature of our VPN, we've already essentially done the discovery part when we restored from that template that had all the coordinates to our controllers. So we can roll over to page 3. So cloning is what you can do is for each similar type of controller or program, you can build the, add the points and the tags and then apply them to other similar types of controllers with the process called cloning. And so the way you do that is, because what we're basically going to do is take the points from these RTU and VAV 101s and apply them to our live RTU and VAV controllers. So I think it wants to do the VAV controllers first. So if you go into your connectors tree on the left, and then just click on the word BACnet, it should show you all 18 of those controllers. And you can sort by the various columns if you want to sort in a particular order. So what I want to do is select all the VAVs. So if I click on VAV 102 and hold hold the shift button down while I click on VAV 107, it will select all of those VAV controllers.
How did you
and then there's this clone. Say that again?
How did you get all your devices to act like that? Because when I click on BACnet, I've got the drop down bar. You do. So
okay.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, let's make you the. Is it good, or you want me to look at your screen?
No, I changed now.
Okay. All right. So select, and you can use Control and Shift to do multi-select. Shift, if you click on one, make it blue, and then hold Shift and click something further down in the list, it'll select everything in between. If you hold Control down, then it'll select individually whichever rows you click on. But the Shift works good here because I want all the VAVs. So once all the VAVs are selected, then you can click this clone button at the bottom. And then it says at the top is who are you cloning from? So I want to show equipped from the Essential Training site. And then the equipped uses a template. Since these are VAV controllers, I want to select the Essential Training VAV 101 equipped and use that as my template. The base URL I can just select as VAV 102. And then in the targets, it shows me the equips that are going to basically inherit the points and tags from the template. And so if I click create, then I see 6 new VAVs on my Essential Training site floor 1 because they always come in at the same location that the template was in, but then you can drag them down to the appropriate location. So that's what it's going to say here is we set the base, we got multiple VAVs, and now we're going to drag the controllers from the Essential Training site, not VAV 101 because that's not the live one. And so I'm going to put the first half on floor 1 and the second half on floor 2. So in the equip tree, I can click on VAV 102, hold the shift button down, and click on VAV 104. That selects VAV 102, 103, and 104. Then I can carefully drag them down to training floor 1.
When I'm going to Essential Training, nothing drops down.
Here, let's see how you cloned, or if you were able to clone. So I just made you the presenter so you can share your screen. So click on Essential Training, the little arrow next to it.
Oh.
Yep. Refresh the available trees with that little, yep. Okay, so now drill down through your equip tree. On the left, click the arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Essential Training, click the arrow, floor 1. There they are. Okay, so now click on the arrow next to the training site so you can see your 2 floors so that you can copy them down. Yeah, so now click on VAV 102. Hold the 102, hold the shift button. Whoops, no, cancel. Just click on VAV 102. Hold the shift button down and click on 104. And that should select all. Now carefully drag them down to training floor 1. Nope, there it is, yep. And apply. And then do the same with 105 through 107, but put them on floor 2. There you go. Now drag them down to floor 2. Yep, and apply. And then just refresh either the whole available trees or even just the training node. There's a refresh just for that node. Yeah, so now if you drill down to the training site, you should see your VAVs on each of the floors. Yep, okay, that's good. So I'll do the same. So I moved 102 to 104, 105, 6, and 7, down to floor 2, apply. And then if you just want to refresh the training part of the tree, notice it has this refresh node option. That would just refresh that site. So these should all be reading live data if we've got a good VPN connection. So if I drill down through VAV 102, it has all the same points and tags from VAV 101, like the zone temperature. So it's reading, that's live data. If I look at the cooling off temp SP, there's 67. So that's live data. And notice that they all have different, the same points and tags. So we don't have to manually tag the points. That's one of the reasons we do this. It's really two, is to show you that templates can be created so that you don't have to manually tag things. And then it also just speeds up the tagging process. And so that it makes it a little more reliable in terms of us all having the same points with tags. So now we're going to do something similar for the RTU controllers using Essential Training RTU 101 as the template. So I'm going to go back to my BACnet connectors. I'm going to select the RTUs numbered 10,002 through 10,007. And I'm going to clone. And then I'm going to show equipments from Essential Training. The equip to use as a template is RTU 101. Oh, you know what? I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Should be. There we go. Sorry about that. And the base URL can be RTU 10,002. So with RTU 101 as a template, we're going to apply those to these live RTU controllers 10,002 through 10,007 by clicking Create. And then they all show up in the Essential Training Floor 1. So I can take 10,002, 3, and 4, drag them down to Floor 1, and then take RTU 10,005, 6, and 7, drag them down to Floor 2 of my training site. And so those, again, are all live controllers. So if you click on any point, you should see real values. You'll see they should all have the same points and tags in each type of controller. So that's the RTU. So that's one way to kind of automate tagging in some ways. And so we want to do something similar for the air handler now, but for ASIC 3 controllers, they're not always quite as predictable because, what was discharge air temp, it might have been input 1 on the first controller I programmed, but on a different project, discharge air temp might have been input 4. So I can't rely on the kind of BACnet object instances all being the same in ASIC 3 controllers. So there's a different way. We call it a point library. And so I have provided a point library called asic3points.zinc as one of your virtual training files. And so we want to upload that into the database. And what it has is all the named points that my air handler controller has, and it has a list of tags that should be applied to each of those air handler points. So the first thing we're going to do a little different is we're going to just create an equip on training floor 1 for our air handler. And so I'm going to choose, let's see what my air handler number was. My air handler number was 5. So I'm going to pick air handler 5 as my floor 1 air handler. Colin, you might want to choose air handler 3, but it doesn't really matter. They should be programmed basically the same. So I'm going to go to training site floor 1. And then I'm going to click the plus at the bottom of the left sidebar. And I'm going to add an equip. And I think I said mine was air handler 5. And it is. So I click create. And now I have a new air handler on training floor 1. Doesn't have any points yet. That's okay. Colin, were you able to add an air handler to training floor 1?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so then we're going to upload that point library first so that when we discover the points in our air handler controller, it can look in our library to see which points should get which tags. So it says go to the bottom of the left sidebar, click on the gears icon for tools, and then create batch records, upload saved records. So there's air handler 5. There's the gears at the bottom of the left sidebar. The tools menu, I have an option to create batch records, upload saved records. And then I'm going to choose a file. And in your virtual training files, there should be a file named asic3points.zinc. The zinc file extension, I was told, means zinc is not CSV, but when you open it with a text editor, it looks a lot like a CSV file to me. But find that asic3points.zinc file and click open. It is a point library, so you can just click upload. And it doesn't look like much happens, but it's been uploaded into the database so that when we discover the points in our air handler controller, then we can apply tags based on some different point names. So then what it says here, step 11, go to the BACnet connector and click on your air handler, and then and then there's a discover points button. So because of the VPN, we can't discover the controllers. The broadcast message isn't getting passed properly from IntelliFront, but we can discover the points once we have the coordinates. So that part does work. So where you now go to your BACnet connectors list and find your air handler. I think yours was 2, mine is 5. And Colin, yours was 3, I believe. And so pick your air handler in the list of BACnet connectors on the left, and then hit this Discover Points button at the bottom of the screen. And then it should go see all the BACnet points that are available from that controller. And so here's my list of discovered points. Let me put this back up on this screen. So we are about here. So we click the Discover Points button. So it says drag all of the named instances to the AHU device added to floor 1. And so what that means is all the ones that have descriptions, not the default 3 letters and a number. So you can use Control and Shift to do multi-select. What I normally do is sort. You can sort by all these different columns. Yeah. So I usually sort by the disk, which is the display name or the description. And so, and you can do reverse sort, but I sort with the, A at the top. So all these ANOs and BVLs, I don't need those. Those haven't been used. So cooling 1 is the first one in the list that has a good English description. So then I hold the Shift button down and click on Hide Duct Static Alarm, because those are all have been given custom names. And then I just scroll down all these ones that start with INP. I don't need those, but I hold the Control button down and click on Mixed Air Temp because that has a good name. And then scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list and then there's a few more: outside air temp, remote schedule, return air temp, supplier temp, and VFD. So I just used control once I did the initial shift selection to individually add them to my list. So you can see all the ones that are highlighted have the blue color. So I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It looks like I have 17 points selected.
Whoa.
So you should have a similar list. Your names may not be exactly the same, depending on what you typed in when you named your points. When we were programming the controllers, I suggested that you follow my naming convention carefully to make things a little bit easier in IntelliFront, and I'll show you here why in a second. But if the names aren't quite the same, that's okay. We'll just do some associations. So did you guys find the same 17 points?
Yeah, I got 16 or 17. I don't know if I just miscounted.
Okay. All right.
Oh, there, that's why.
We can always add more later if we need to, but so once you highlight the points you want to add to the device, there's actually two ways to add them to the equip. The old school way was to drag them and drop them on the equip, and sometimes people would end up not dropping in the right location as they mouse over. So the way I like to do it now, I want to add these to Air Handler 5. So if I go to Air Handler 5 here and hover, there's this arrow pointing to the right that says Make Current Context. That's going to change this location up in the blue nav bar at the top. So if you find your Air Handler controller on floor 1 of your training site and click the little right arrow, notice that it changes the nav location here in the blue bar at the top. So the second way, the way I actually prefer, so that I don't have to worry about dropping in the wrong spot, is to highlight my point. And then once the nav location is correct, you can just click this Add button, and it will add them to your current nav location. So that's why it says Add Connector Points to Training A25. When I click Apply, then the batch record editor appears. And there's 3 columns here. So the library record, it shows a list of points from our point libraries. And so there's a default library record called Fin Get Point Records that I want to deselect. But before I can do that, I want to select the a63points.zinc file that we uploaded. So you want to check next to a63points.zinc, and then you want to deselect Fin Get Point Records. So those are all the points from our a63points.zinc file. They should match up pretty closely with the named points in our controller. The DB records are live data points from the controller, and then the matched column is associating library points with live data points. And the matching is actually not as good as I would have hoped. I think for some reason it starts from the end of the word instead of the beginning. So what you want to do in this matched?
Matched.
Yeah. Say that again.
In matched, I only have 4 points, which is cooling 1 and 2. Cooling 1 and 2 for some reason. It's not like the whole list that you got there.
Are there some in the DB records column that are waiting to be matched?
Oh, then maybe that's what it is.
I got 2 in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so here, I'll go through mine and then I'll help you get yours matched up. So in the matched columns, anytime the names don't go together, like cooling SP and duct static set point, those don't go together. So I can click on that one so that it has the kind of white background and then unmatch here at the bottom. And you can use Control and Shift to do multi-select if you want to unmatch a bunch at a time. So you want to find the ones where the names don't go together and unmatch them. And I'll do mine, and then I'll help you get yours lined up. So I'm going to unmatch all those. So now my matched column does go together pretty well now. And so now I want to manually associate the library point name with the live data point for my controller in the DB record. So duck static SP is my library record. I click the plus next to duck static SP in my DB record, and then those get associated. Heating 1 plus, heating 2 plus, heating SP plus, outside air temp plus, return air temp plus, and supply air temp plus. So the end result should be 17 points in your matched column that all go together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay, and so my names match up. I'm going to not replace existing names, although I think mine match exactly because I followed my naming convention. Replace marker tags. If you had already had tagged your points manually, then it will kind of erase them and only apply the new ones. And then replace his tags would have to do with any trend configuration you'd put in, and we haven't done any. So the replace marker tags and replace his tags don't really matter here because we had never really tagged our points. So once we get everything matched up well, we click apply. Our records are updated. We click OK. And so now if we go look at all of any points for our air handler, like mixed air temp, we should be getting a live data value. And in the marker tag section, it should already have points that go with that, or tags that go with that point. So mixed air temp was tagged as mixed and air and temp because that's appropriate for that type of point. And so the next thing we want to do is we're going to add the AHU marker tag to the air handler controller before we clone it to another air handler controller, because that way we don't have to add that marker tag twice. Because when you clone it, the equip tags also come through as well. So when it says add the AHU marker tag, it means go to your air handler 5 controller or your air handler equip on training floor 1. And then here's the list of marker tags. It just has the marker tag named equip. And so to add a marker tag, you can just click on the plus in the marker tags section. And then you can just start typing in the tag that you want to add. And it will look for matches based on the reference set of haystack tags. So if you type AHU, it will suggest the AHU tag. If you hover, it'll even tell you what that tag's intended usage is. So the AHU tag is for an air handler unit which heats and or cools air. So you can just click on that suggested tag and then click the little check. Then it adds that AHU marker tag to my AHU equip, and then I finally click the blue save button bottom right.
Once you click that plus for marker tags, I hover over which one you're saying?
Right there.
Just type AHU in the search box where it says tag name 1, tag name 2.
Okay, gotcha. And then once I have that, you hit the check mark, you said?
You hit the check mark and then save bottom right.
Okay.
And so now, once you've got that, now we're ready to clone to a second air handler. So here's step 14. We're going to clone just like before. So the way we clone, cloning is navigation sensitive. So I always like to go all the way to the top level by clicking on the house so that only the house is shown in the nav bar when cloning. And so then if you go back to your BACnet connectors, we can choose one of the equips we want to clone to. And so I will choose maybe air handler 3 as the one I want to clone to. So I'll click on air handler 3. You want to choose a different air handler than the one you have on the first floor. So Jason, you probably want to click either air handler 3 or air handler 5. And Colin, you probably want to click either air handler 2 or air handler 5.
And that's in under BACnet, correct?
Yeah, if you click on the word BACnet underneath your connectors list, it'll show all of your BACnet connectors.
Okay.
So pick a new air handler other than the one that's already on the first floor, and then click the clone button at the bottom. And then show equipments from, I want to now clone from the training site, not essential training. The equip I want to use as my template is my only air handler currently for the training site. So mine is air handler 5. Your air handler number will be different. The base URL can also be air handler 5 or your air handler number. And then the target shows who you're going to apply the template points to. So whatever's in air handler 5 is going to get basically cloned over to air handler 3. And so if I click create, then I get air handler 3 on the same floor as air handler 5. And then I can just click on air handler 3 and drag him down to floor 2. And again, yours may be a different number, but you want to have one air handler on floor 1 of your training site and another air handler on floor 2 of your training site.
Okay, so 3 would have been new. So then under training site, that's when I clicked AHU3.
Yeah, just drag him down to floor 2.
Okay.
And then if you look at your points from air handler 3, they should already have the same points and tags and should be reading live data. So I just picked mixed air temp again. I can see that it has marker tags for mixed and air and temp. So the workflow in IntelliFront is a little different than other front ends you might have programmed in the past. You spend a little bit more time building out the database, but once we build the database, then we'll see that all the other activities that we do, whether it's making graphics, making trends, doing programming at the front end level, that all goes much faster. So do you have an air handler on each floor now with points and tags?
Yes.
Okay. So then the next thing in here, it says use the point graphics app to view points from air handler and VAV equips. So one of the apps is the point graphics app, and it's a pretty phone friendly app. And just as a result of adding points and tagging them, we'll get some useful information in the point graphics app. So the point graphics app is nav sensitive. So in the blue bar, if I navigate to my training site and floor 1 and pick one of my VAVs on floor 1, like VAV 102.
You go to top right, house, right, training, floor 1.
Yeah, so just drill across in the blue bar at the top. So once you drill down to a VAV equip in the blue nav bar, if you go to the menu and pick the point graphics app, on the right side, you'll see a list of all the points from that equip, and you'll get a representative icon that the software is displaying based on the points, on the tags that you've applied to those points. You may see some icons also on the right. If it has like a little bar graph, that means it's been set up as a trend point. You could view the trend data from that point. If you see a little lightning bolt, that's a writable point that you could change by clicking on the lightning bolt. And the way that the software is trying to decide what icon to show, again, is looking at the tags. And so there's a lot of online help that J2 provides for the base thin framework. And I'll point you to that because you might find that helpful, when you're building your own system. So I'm just going to, in a new tab, I'm just going to search for Fin Framework Wiki, W-I-K-I. And so then the first link is this finproducts.atlassian.net, Fin Framework, Fin Doc. And so if I click on that, you can kind of drill down on the left to find information about different apps. So I'm trying to find the one for point graphics. There you go. App selection menu, end user apps, point graphics. I think that's the one I want. And so if I scroll down, it's going to give me a list. So this image trigger tags shows me what tags are being looked for and what icon will show when that tag is found. So for example, I have like a room temperature sensor And there should be one in here that says why it shows me that. It's called zone. Yeah, so here it's saying if I see the zone tag, I'm going to show this icon. And so that's why, for example, the zone temperature point shows that icon because it saw the zone tag. But the point graphics app is kind of a good way to see that you have applied appropriate tags for your points. If the icons that it shows tend to make sense, then that's probably because you have tagged your database in sort of an understandable way. You don't have to follow necessarily the reference tags provided by Haystack. I try to use their tags when I can. There's certain cases where you're going to make some custom tags, and that's okay too. The biggest thing is just to be consistent in how you apply your tags so that all your similar types of eclipse have points that are tagged in the same type of way. So that is the end of that lab.